Welcome to Knicks Home Court with your host. My name is Greg Armstrong. This is episode number 68. As we all know by now, the Knicks just straight bust the Kings' ass. And exactly what I was saying in the previous podcast, you don't know what Kings' team is going to show up. You don't know when it's a young team. You don't know what you're going to get. But this was a good matchup. This is a terrible matchup for the Kings to play the Knicks because the Kings don't shoot a lot of threes. See, against teams that don't shoot a lot of threes, the Knicks are going to crush those teams because the Knicks are an elite two-point shooting team. They can shoot threes, but they're more of a two-point shooting team. And teams that think they're going to beat the Knicks with just not shooting a bunch of threes, that's not going to happen. Knicks probably one of the best mid-range shooting teams in the league. And it's not an honor that you want to have, but when we face teams like Sacramento, who doesn't have a lot of three-point shooters, they have a couple of elite three-point shooters, but they don't have like a whole team, and that's not how they play. It just was a bad matchup from the beginning for Sacramento. And, I'm not even sure if that guy Jaeger is the coach. I think that's his name. I don't think he's the coach for this team. You got a Ferrari in De'Aaron Fox, and you got him moving like a Buick. You got a Ferrari, and he matches up. You got De'Aaron Fox and you got Buddy Hield. Those two right there might form a crazy tandem. I've always said you need a penetrating guard and a jump shooting guard. Think of John Wall and Bradley Beal. You need that kind of tandem that matches up. Like if you got two guards that, like, for example, guards that didn't match up was Russell Westbrook and Oladipo. Similar type players that like to penetrate, get up and down the court. None of them are really three-point shooters, and that was a terrible match. Now you see Oladipo balling out again because I always thought he was good. I don't know why Orlando gave up on him. Anyhow, Kristaps was Kristapping. Ain't nothing sneaky about what he did last night. He came out like, look. And you know what I really like that I'm seeing from Kristaps is, I know it's early in the season, but I'm talking about his mindset. Like, he's coming out like, I know I'm good. I'm going to score my 30. Like, it's looking very confident when he's out there. And even, because you know what? Even missing his first few shots, he was the same. He was like, it's all right. I'm going to get my 30. And, awesome scorers are like that. I used to see that with Melo. Melo would miss his first 5 shots, keep playing the same way, wouldn't worry about shit. And then before you know it, Melo got 30. And, or any Kevin Durant, any great Steph Curry, any great scorer, if they start off cold, it's nothing. They're like, okay, I missed first 5, I'll probably hit the next 5. Like, and I like that confidence I'm seeing from Kristaps. And I'm liking the fact that he's starting to make his teammates better by looking for them. This is a team, folks, and this is why I don't want turnover. I don't want them not making the playoffs and getting rid of half the players. They have something here. They have camaraderie. It's a nice mix of young guys and old guys and a bunch of good guys, by the way. And you probably also know by now, in this Sunday edition, had to give y'all a Sunday edition podcast, Kuzminskis has been waived by the Knicks. I knew that was coming. I had wanted Beasley to get cut at one point, and then Beasley yesterday was like, shit, I'm going to block some shots. I'm going to play some D. Shit, I'm going to get some rebounds. I'm going to score some points, shit. But if you think about it, some people wanted Beasley gone instead of Kuzminskis, right? But let's be honest. Let's be real. Beasley's better than Kuzminskis. And guess what? Beasley's actually the same age as Kuzminskis. They both 28. So why keep the guy who needs to learn how to play? And you got another guy who, yes, he's disruptive at times. But at his best, he's still better than Kuzminskis. Not even close. He's a good scorer. He can play the 3 and the 4. Come on. He's an end-of-the-bench guy. That's what Beasley is. But to have a Beasley at the end of the bench, you ever play – when the Knicks play – I've seen the Knicks play good teams. And maybe the Knicks are winning the game. This was in the past. They win in the game, and the team will bring in like a veteran. Like, say, like Utah brings in like a Joe Johnson, and all of a sudden he turns back the clock and scores a quick 8 points or something like that. That's something that Beasley can do for a team. When you're struggling, just give it to the guy who can score every now and then. And you know what? I understand. That's a skill in this league that's needed. And that's a skill that Kuzminskis doesn't have. You know, I wish him the best. Let's see if another team picks him up. And you're going to see other players get cut. I know that Luol Deng is trying to negotiate a buyout. He doesn't want to be with the Lakers anymore. Look for like Cleveland to probably try to pick him up, or some other playoff team that want to pick him up. You know, I think I don't know how his body is. He probably done, because, you know, he's been kind of done for a minute. But anyway, so the Knicks had a good win, and everybody saw the alley-oop. Ooh, that was a nice alley-oop by Frank. That was a sweet alley-oop by Frank to Porzingis. I really appreciated that. I had to look at that 3 times, 4 times. Then I went on the internet. I kept looking. I was like, this is just, like I said, Knicks fans, rejoice in every victory, because they're gonna lose their share of games as well. So if you watching the Knicks win the games, and you're looking for problems and saying, but they don't do this and but they don't do that, you're not enjoying the victories, because when they lose, you can talk about what they don't do. But when they win, you know, you can always, constructive criticism, obviously, but still, you know. So I see a lot of Knicks fans are pretty upset. Some Knicks fans on Twitter are upset that Kuzminskis isn't here anymore. And it's like, again, either you're a fan of the Knicks or you're a fan of the players. I'm a fan of the Knicks, the team. And you're on my team, I'm a fan of you. You're not on my team, I wish you the best. Simple as that. You know, I want to get to a couple of comments from the last podcast I did. Some interesting questions. Shout out to Joe Collins. That's a cool, is that really your name? Joe Collins, that's a cool name. Oh, Joe Collins, man. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, he asked, what do I think of LeBron James saying we should have drafted Dennis Smith Jr.? I don't think nothing of it. LeBron James is that type of person where he'll be complimentary of a player. He was complimentary of Dennis Smith. Dennis Smith must have played well. Then also you got to understand, as he said towards the end, see, this is where you got to be careful with New York media and media in general. They only took part of the quote, that the Knicks should have drafted him and this and that. The end of the quote was that he's known Dennis Smith for a very long time. In other words, he's watched the kid grow up. So if I watch the kid grow up, I'm going to big up my boy. I'm going to big him up. Like, yo, look at him now. I told you he was going to be good. The Knicks missed a good one. That's all he was saying. He known the kid, like you said, I knew him for a long time. I knew he was good. Come on, that sounds like somebody who you know, knows a guy and wants him to do well. That's all. He doesn't know Frank Ntilikina. So why would he say anything positive about somebody he doesn't know? He knows Dennis Smith. He probably known him because LeBron James is a fan. He don't just love the game. He's also a fan of the game. You know, you've seen him go to college games. He probably goes to high school games every now and then. So he's seen Dennis Smith probably from 13, 14 years old. And that's what he's probably like, yo, he's a good one. I get it. I'm not offended at all. That's one man's opinion. That's okay. He could say that. We can't be so reactionary to what LeBron James says. Fuck what he says. I don't care. But the truth is, I don't think it was nothing bad about what he said. You know, it was nothing bad what he said. He knows the guy, and that's it. He knows the guy. The guy had a good game. He scored 21 points. So he just wanted to give him props. But scoring 21 points at the point guard position against the point guard less Cleveland Cavaliers doesn't really say much. Cleveland Cavaliers, Derrick Rose, I don't even know if he played, but Derrick Rose is garbage on defense. So scoring points on Derrick Rose is not really saying nothing. You know, they don't have a real point guard rotation. Isaiah Thomas isn't there. So, you know, if you really look deeper into it, come on, what they was going to do? They probably ran a bunch of pick and rolls for Dennis Smith, and if Derrick Rose plays, he dies on the pick and roll. So I just wanted to get that little comment. I want to respond to another comment, just a couple more. Esau, I think it's Esau. Esau is the devil. Some of y'all handles is something else, I tell you. He said, "You sound like a mature dude. Do you ever consider doing a hip hop podcast?" Not necessarily. Actually, this Knicks home court was something. I really was doing a different kind of podcast, and I added this. My original podcast was Life, Culture, Sports. Well, I was just talking about those three things. It could be like I like to talk about money and finance because I'm into that, obviously. Retirement, things like that. Wellness, eating well, things like that. Sports, obviously, things, a little bit of politics, and of course hip hop. Actually, I wanted to do a podcast. I wanted to do a little podcast on hip hop. Not a hip hop podcast, but I wanted to do an episode about hip hop because, a bunch of old heads, guys my age, they just swear hip hop today is terrible. And yes, there is some terrible hip hop, but I'm going to tell you folks, there was some bullshit hip hop when I was growing up too. Like people act like hip hop was like the golden age. Every song was good back in the days. No, there was a lot of bullshit. And then when people say, "Oh, I don't understand what they're saying," come on, my mom told me she didn't understand what the rappers were saying back then. I remember I was a young little kid. I asked my mother, "Could you get me a Run DMC album?" She said, "What the hell is a Run DMC? What is a LL Cool J? What is that?" You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, my parents said the same thing. See, when you start hating on the youth, it just shows that you're old. That's all. And it took me, I had to adjust to some of the music. Now, some of it is age based because some of the shit they talk about I'm not down with. Some of it is bullshit. One thing I can tell you, the production, the beats is sick. A lot of beats is really good. I like the trap beats. I like some of the music. And guess what? Rap music has always been about talking shit. From the inception of rap music, either it's about partying and talking shit. It started off, my rhyme is better than your rhyme. My rhyme can beat your rhyme up. My verbs and adjectives is better than yours. And then it morphed into actually more like violent type things, like I'll shoot and kill or I'm moving weight. And, it's always been that way. But the truth is, hip hop and rap music was really born out of oppression. In the Bronx, I was a very, very little kid, but the Bronx was burnt down at one time, and hip hop came out of that. Literally getting electricity from the pole. I was a little kid in them little tight little gym shorts running around, but they used to plug shit up. They used to splice up them wires from the damn light and put the music on, and I had to be upstairs when the light came on when it got dark. But I remember those times, and I remember how it evolved, and then I remember I heard. Just giving a little hip hop thing here, and I remember when I heard Eric B and Rakim for the first time. When I heard "I Came in the Door," I said it before. Now the reason why I'm talking about that is because this is why I always say Rakim is probably the greatest rapper of all time. But again, I say this with a caveat because I do believe in ranking rappers due to era. Like, he was the best of his era. But the reason why I also say, because after Rakim, nobody was rhyming like that. Before Rakim, nobody was rhyming like that. Nobody was putting their words together, breaking up words and making them rhyme. Like, if he didn't have a rhyming word, he would add another word and put two words together. And nobody was rhyming like that. Before Rakim, people was rhyming like, "I went to the store, I got some more." Shit like that. Rakim came in, is biting me and fighting me, inviting me to rhyme. I can't hold it back. I'm looking for the line, taking off my coat. People was like, who the fuck is this guy? He was like a Martian in 1987, 1986. It was like, who the fuck is, then he did my melody. Go back and listen to those lyrics. You can play it. If you put my melody, I wish somebody could do that. Put my melody or Microphone Fiend, put those songs to trap music, to the music today with his lyrics. And I bet you'd be like, wow. So he was advanced. He was before his time lyrically. And that's why I say that he's like the father to everybody's style you hear today. That's why I say he's great. And honorable mention to Coogee Rap, who's another one. If you listen to Coogee, if you listen to Big Pun, if you think Big Pun is great, he got his whole style from Coogee Rap. Everybody gets their beginnings from somewhere, So that's a little hip hop take. But I would love to do. I couldn't do a whole hip hop podcast because I'm not in the culture as much as I used to be. I mean, I remember I used to know lyrics to like every song, and I used to be into it. I still listen to hip hop. I still got some artists I like today. Of course, the ones at the top: J. Cole, Drake, Kendrick Lamar, of course. I've actually grown to like Future. I don't know what he is. I don't know if he's a rapper or a singer, but damn, the beats be banging. See, some music is not made for you to just sit there and listen to. Future's music is made for you to just bop your head. That shit is bass dropping shit. His beats be sick. So, that's a little synopsis of my hip hop. But I know a lot about hip hop. But I go toe to toe with a lot of my friends who are my age who try to say things are so much worse today in hip hop than it was back then. Because it was songs that didn't have words back then. It was even an R&B song. I don't know if you call it a pop or R&B song. It's called a double Dutch song. If you know, there's no words in this song. They're literally going zibba, zibby, zibby, zoo. That's how the song goes. So anyway, I digress. Sorry, folks. I got a little into the hip hop thing because it is something I do love. All right. Oh, another comment. I sound so familiar, like I know you personally, or maybe you sound like Stephen A. Smith. I hope I don't sound like him. I like to make his money, but whatever. I know a lot of people, man. I've been in, like I said, I've lived in 4 boroughs. I didn't live in Staten Island, but I lived all around New York. I've been everywhere. I know a lot of people. I just raised my kids now, but I could know you. People see me all the time. They be like, "Yo, I know you." I'm like, "Whatever, man. It don't matter. As long as I'm peaceful. So long, if I look like somebody long as he ain't start no trouble, shit. I don't want nobody. Shit. My greatest fear in life is to get hit by a stray bullet. God damn it." Anyway, back to the Knicks. Okay, Joe Collins. I'm just going to read maybe 2 more comments and then I'm going to get back to the Knicks. All right, so I see Joe Collins put Mark Jackson, Larry Johnson, Chris Childs for the 2 hooks he threw at Kobe. LOL. Let me tell you something. First of all, is Mark Jackson my top 10 Knick? I don't know yet. I have to think about that. Larry Johnson, I don't know yet. I have to think about that. I love Larry. Chris Childs, he's not on my top 10, but he's on my he's let me see. He's probably number 1 for the 2-piece though. He gave Kobe the nice 2-piece, and if you pause the video, you see Kobe's jaw look like it's like on the other side. That shit is crazy. He caught him with the 2-piece. But my thing is, like, Chris Childs, I respect that because you know what? There was always a rule when I was growing up. And my brother, my big brother taught me this. My father always said, don't let a man invade your space. Have an invisible circle around you. And if he steps in that circle, you got to handle your business. You got to protect yourself. So Kobe's standing there all in this guy's face. And it's like, yo, you in my space, dude. Ba-bap. That's what it was. It's legendary. Did Kobe want to chase him around the court? It's too late, dude. You don't put your face in somebody. That's why I don't see Kobe grew up in Italy. I don't know how Europe does it. You know what I'm saying? I grew up in the Bronx. I'm not stepping in somebody's face like that. I've gotten punched in my face like that. What you gonna do? Crack. I learned my lesson. I learned it young. You don't step to people like that. But anyway. The Queens Ave Bully. That's a good name. Oh, Joe Collins from Canada. Big shout out to Canada. All right, so now I'm going to get back to the Knicks. Let me get back to the Knicks. I got a little sidetrack, folks. Hope you're still with me. So the Knicks, we got some hard games coming up. The next few games. We have Cleveland. Who's the next game? So we got Cleveland, which I don't like revenge games. I don't like the fact that that we beat Cleveland the way we did. You know, they're going to look to avenge that game. I'm always going to respect Cleveland. Like they said, they're the Eastern Conference champs until they're knocked out. So can we win again? Yes, we can. I think if they're not hitting threes, see, this is the problem I believe with Cleveland, is that they got to the finals because they were an offensive juggernaut. They have changed their style of play from a really good defensive team to an offensive juggernaut, and they haven't been that offensive juggernaut. If they're not being that offensive juggernaut, they're going to struggle to win games. But understand, they're missing 28 points a game. That should not be understated. Isaiah Thomas averaged 28 points a game last year. They're missing 28 points a game. So I'm glad that we're facing them now when they don't have their full complement of players. Could we win? The way Kristaps is playing right now, who knows? Like I said, youthful exuberance. I love it. And then we have Utah. And there's a guy on Utah who I did like, Donovan Mitchell, and I really liked him. There was a few guys when the draft took place, I was saying, if the Knicks draft any of these guys, I'll be happy with. The one guy, believe it or not, I was like, I don't really know if I want him, was Malik Monk, even though I liked him. But I was like, he's not a point guard. He's kind of a short two guard. So short two guards, unless you have elite defense like Avery Bradley, who plays bigger than his size, and he's tough as nails, I just was like, this guy's going to be a six-man. I don't see him as a real starter in this league. You see, they trying to make it. See, I don't want to draft a guy that I got to make into a point guard who's never been a point guard. I just don't, if he was a point guard, he'd probably be a second coming of Steph Curry, but he's not really a point guard. So I was like shaky on him. I really liked Donovan Mitchell. His athleticism, he's tough. He's gonna ball. He's gonna try to ball out on the Knicks. And I had liked Dennis Smith. His offense. I thought he would be good for Kristaps. And I did like Frank Ntilikina. One sleeper I did like, believe it or not, was Luke Kennard. I was really liking Luke Kennard. I think he's gonna be a good NBA player. Because one thing, when a guy can shoot the lights out, usually those guys stay around the league. So I was really, but when we drafted Frank, I thought about it. I was like, you know what? We need defense. And you see the Knicks, when Frank comes in the game, he literally changes the way the game is played. When he comes in the game, there's a change defensively. His plus minus will always be good because he literally changes the game when he comes in. He gets the team organized. I just don't like when he stands in a corner or stands away from the action. I like him handling the ball because he makes a lot of smart decisions for a 19-year-old. Keep that in the back of your mind. And also, this 19-year-old played with grown men in France who trusted him getting to their championship game. So this is a mature 19, but he's still only 19. He has a lot of growing and a lot of growing into his body to do. I think he's going to be a better player than Dennis Smith. Dennis Smith going to put up numbers, and to me, numbers are empty in L's. Malik Monk put up big numbers, and Frank didn't, and the Knicks won. It's about winning games, baby. Don't ever get caught up in that. It's about winning games. There's going to always be those players that put up big numbers and never win, and you wonder why, because them players just doing for themselves. They're doing for themselves. Frank is at the point where the team is like, yo, shoot, man. They want him to shoot. That's how you want to be. If you're a point guard, you want your team to say, yo, yeah, take some shots, man. You hooking us up. Because he plays for his teammates. That's a special quality that a lot of players through their whole career never get that. He's young and he plays for his teammates now. Who wouldn't want to play for an elite passer like that? People like to play with people who pass the ball, people. So anyway, that's that. And, I keep telling, I saw something that made me very happy. Doug McDermott was the first guy off the bench in last night's game. I like that. I see that Jeff Hornacek is seeing the hard work that he's putting in. But then Courtney Lee goes for 20 points. I mean, Courtney Lee played his ass off, And, I know we gave Tim Hardaway Jr. that contract. I'm not going to count that boy's money. I'm not going to count that man's money. However, I like the fact that he only scored 4 points. And what I like about that is that I don't know if they're talking to him or whatever, but listen, dude, you don't have to force it. You got that money. That money's yours. We can't take that back. Don't force it. I would rather him, if he's having an off night, fine. Long as I don't want to see you pouting, I only got 4 points. That's good. I like his attitude. Trust me, that goes far. That goes far. Because he could have been out there. I've known guys to, in winning games, be mad about their stat line. And that's just not the kind of player I want on my team. So Courtney Lee went off. But I'm telling you, Doug McDermott, he's pushing that starting lineup. He's pushing. I don't know how long it's gonna be, but he's pushing. And I'm saying, how that trade look? Kanter is averaging a double-double. McDermott is proving to be pretty good off the bench, maybe eventually a starter. How does that trade look, folks? The Knicks always get fleeced. How does that trade look? I liked the trade from the beginning because I felt that the Knicks got 2 useful players. And that's all you can ask for. Now, Indiana, Oladipo's balling out. Sabonis is balling out. I still think they didn't get enough because Paul George is young. That's the difference. But we gave up a guy who's maybe 2 or 3 more years left in his career, and Kanter's 25. This guy, I think he's 24. He could be a part of our future. Now, Kanter, again, I'm worried about him because I would like to keep Kanter, but the only thing I worry about is his contract. If he's already at $17 million, he might want max deal, and I'm sorry, folks, you're not getting a max deal. But some GM around the league might give him a max deal. You never know. You never know if he ball out. But I think we're going to have him for at least 2 years, so we'll see. And I like the connection between him and KP. He's an ox, man. He's an ox. He's super strong, man. He just be moving people down low. I mean, he doesn't even look that big, but he just be moving people. He's a strong dude. You know, I like him. And he's a good guy. Again, you like to have a team full of good guys who get along with each other, guys who are pulling for each other, rooting for each other. You see how Kanter, I mean, when LeBron said what he said about Frank, he was like, we good over here, you know, and Kristaps liked that tweet and stuff like that. That's a good thing, man. These guys are together, you know. Frank is so calm, man. He has such a calm demeanor, man. That shit is crazy. But the dude has some flair. Pay attention to some of the passes he makes. Look, yo, I think he's an elite passer. I've seen him make some passes. I'm like, maybe that's part of the game that we didn't know you had. You know? And Nicolas Batum, his buddy from France, says, look, he can score. He will start scoring. So we'll see. You know, let the game come to you. But you see his IQ is off the charts. And every now and then he turns back into a 19-year-old rookie. It makes rookie mistakes. We don't need to micromanage and we don't need to criticize everything he does wrong. All you got to do is like, look, he's 19. Do you remember what you were doing at 19? Some of y'all are 19 who will listen to this podcast, but anybody who's older, do you remember what you were doing at 19? He's in a foreign country playing in the NBA, folks. That's a lot. That's a lot. Anyway, this brings us to the end of this podcast, episode number 68. Knicks Home Court. I'm your host. My name is Greg Armstrong. Let's get a win against Cleveland. Let's keep it going. Speak to y'all later. Peace.